The White House is once again rejecting the authority of the U.S. Supreme Court in a case of a man they admit was mistakenly deported to El Salvador. The administration is supported in all this by the Salvadorian president, who visited the White House yesterday and called the idea of returning Kilmar Abrego Garcia, quote, preposterous. Now President Trump is doubling down and talking about possibly deporting U.S. citizens as well. Nancy Cordes has more from the White House.
We're studying the laws right now. Pam is studying.
Sitting in the Oval Office, President Trump said his partnership with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele is working out so well, he might want to send U.S. citizens to Bukele's prisons, too.
I'm talking about really bad people. Really bad people. Every bit as bad as the ones coming in.
That is fundamentally not only chilling, but it's also not going to be legal.
Former U.S. District Judge John Jones says Trump's idea would likely run afoul of the Constitution's Eighth Amendment, which prohibits cruel and unusual punishments.
Suppose you housed an American in this prison, and suppose that American had his conviction overturned by a higher court. If the administration is being consistent, they would say, well, we have an innocent man sitting in the prison in El Salvador, but the president of El Salvador won't return him, so he has to sit there.
Something similar happened just yesterday when President Bukele, sitting next to President Trump, said he would not release a migrant the U.S. had mistakenly sent to a Salvadoran prison last month.
How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia was one of the 238 men the Trump administration flew to the notorious CECOT prison, even though an immigration judge had ordered 5 years ago that Abrego Garcia not be deported. His family says he's a sheet metal worker with no criminal record. The administration claims he's an MS-13 gang member who deserves to stay in prison.
He was illegally in our country.
Last week, the Supreme Court instructed the government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador. But Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, made it clear Monday the White House does not plan to push for his release.
He's an illegal alien from El Salvador. Where was he sent? To El Salvador. Where does he belong? In El Salvador. He belongs. He belongs.
Sending someone home and sending them into a prison that they could remain in for life.
It is up to El Salvador how to handle the process for their own citizens.
There will be another hearing on this case today in Maryland. It could eventually go back to the Supreme Court. White House officials told us yesterday, even if Abrego Garcia is brought back to the United States, it's largely irrelevant because they just deport him again. They say he will never live in the U.S. again. Tony.
Nancy, the Trump administration has also taken new steps against Harvard University. We didn't know about that.
That's right. Last night, the White House announced a freeze of $2.2 billion in grants and a $60 million contract for Harvard University. This comes, Tony, after Harvard rejected demands that it institute changes in hiring and admissions to ensure what the Trump administration has been calling viewpoint diversity. The White House says they're just ensuring that taxpayer dollars do not go towards racial discrimination or racially motivated violence. But in a statement, Harvard said that it will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Tony?
Nancy, thank you very much.